Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Well, welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele VanDusen and Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Laugh Support, with Michele who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Laugh Support, with Michele who's really short. Now it's time to start Laugh Support.
The Laugh Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause.
Welcome to the award-winning Laugh Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, here with Michele with one L, Rhonda Colson Corey's friend, Trisha's sister, Shelly for short.
Only if I'm playing it clam.
Michele VanDusen. And look at you. Why, Michele, are we back to poopery this episode? Because I thought we moved on. What are you doing?
No, this is Crest Scope for your mouth.
Again, not a sponsor. I don't know why you keep pointing out people who don't help us.
And then Thieves Mints. Lovely, lovely things from Young Living.
Is that supposed to help you breathe better as you're coughing when we come on to the air today?
I was coughing because I sprayed this. I thought, you can't actually smell my breath, so there was no reason to use the Crest Scope breath spray thingy. This is actually really fantastic stuff. And if you do go out in public and you're just showing up, this is great. It's purse size, and this is great. So like it won't spray, but you got to twist it and then it'll spray. So it stays locked closed in your bag. So
listen, as one of the first things doing comedy that I discovered that I didn't know about, because I had done speaking before, I had acted, things like that. But comedy is a whole different beast. I did not realize what your nerves will do to your, is it salivatory glands? I don't know what exactly you call them. But for some reason, when you get nervous, all of the liquid in your mouth decides to just go away. Like cotton mouth is real, like dry mouth is real. And it really is an effect of your nervous system. Like when you become anxious, it's some sort of part of the fight or flight. Like, I don't know where your spit needs to go, like to save your life, because it's one of those things where like, why? I mean, why? What do we, that extra liquid in our mouth was going to save us from a saber-toothed tiger? I don't know what that is. Did you spit out your coffee?
I thought it'd be funny. I thought it'd be funny to, no, I have water in here, just water. I thought it'd be funny just to make water noises like I was sipping very loudly, but then you said something and it made me, that
would be a crazy superhero, like the slobber Superman. It's slobber super dude. Like for some reason, our spit makes us superpowers. I don't know what it is, Michele. And I don't know why I suddenly have a list. I know I have a list. I know I have a little bit of a list because I had oral surgery and I'm missing a tooth. That's the weirdest feeling in the world. Like when you have,
I was gonna say, can you suck in part of your cheek now between that tooth so it looks like you have a new dimple?
No, I don't think so. I know for our audience who's listening, you're probably like, "Wow, I wish I could see what's happening right now."
Or why am I listening? It's one of the two.
Yeah, I'm just making a fishy face at this point. But it really does. So that little spray that you have, there's a couple of things that like CVS Pharmacy and Walgreens and things like that you can get spray for your mouth, or there's even I have a tube of a liquid, or it's almost like a gel, and you put it under your tongue. And I had to have
what's
that.
the name of that?
I can't remember,
because I have one of those too, but it's in my bag, which is not sitting by me.
Right. Yeah. Mine is in my travel bag. But either way, if you go to CVS or Walgreens,
it's a dry mouth. It's a dry mouth thingy.
And I would have to have that. Like every single time I went on stage, I would have to have that because I would get dry mouth. And not that I'm like, a seasoned veteran and such a pro that I never get nervous, but I have noticed the longer I do comedy, the less that happens to me. Maybe if it's like a really big event or something, or I'm just dealing with something previous to going on stage. But for the most part, I don't get that anymore. But I'm telling you, that was like a huge lifesaver to have something that just because I do at the end of my, one of my closers is to do a big run, right? And it's like a minute and a half of rapid fire words that I'm saying.
Oh, I'm like,
And
why are you running? Okay.
yeah. And the first time that I did that and I got super nervous, I ended up looking like a bulldog at the end of it because I'm like, my teeth where my lips were stuck to my teeth. My mouth was so dry. You look like Fire Marshal Bill's teeth. That's what it looks like. Fire Marshal Bill. Let me tell you something.
Vaseline there.
But even that doesn't. Even that didn't work. Like my mouth just dried up. So that's, that happened.
That's sad. That's really, really sad.
So I'm glad last episode we started by talking about the bathroom and now spit. Now there's spit. It's a clean comedy podcast. We're just gross. Okay. So our last episode, we ended with a to be continued, with a cliffhanger, with the unknown tour. The unknown tour. Okay. We definitely in the future are going to have the creator, the director, the producer, the extraordinaire. Yes. What's her name? Michele VanDusen?
Lauren Lucille.
Lauren Lucille. We got to have her on the show, and we will when she slows down a little bit. But y'all, this tour, the Unknown Tour, produced by Lauren Lucille, is wide open. She is rocking it like nobody's business. She's just a phenomenal human being. One of the things, she's one of our Christian comedy friends. And one of the things that stands out the most about our sweet friend Lauren is she, the scarcity mentality has never, ever, ever been in her brain. She is the type of person who is doing big things and is not afraid to help someone else do big things too. She is not afraid that if she does a great tour, that if someone else finds out her secrets, that they'll do a great tour too. She has the attitude of
there's room for everyone.
Right. There's room for everyone.
Encourage
I'm doing well.
Others. Mm-hmm. You do well. And I was just wondering, because you're talking about, a big tour, lots of space. I love Lauren for a couple of different reasons, but here's one of them. Here's a small little thing why I love Lauren. She's my height.
Is she really?
Yes.
I would love to stand in between the two of you. Like,
okay, so she's taller. Okay, she's taller, but not by much. She's not like a giant like you.
But she probably wears cute little high heels too.
She
so
does.
If you went flat-footed to flat-footed.
Oh no, she's still a little bit taller.
That might be because the only time we're going to get you pumped up is if you were wearing like Reebok pumps. You remember the Reebok pumps? If you pumped up your tennis shoes and you were like stacked them up or whatever. Because Michele is about looking good and being comfortable. And let me tell you, okay, we're going to get back to the Unknown Tour.
Yes.
But the show you did the other day with Nicole Miller and Gary Thompson, I loved your jacket.
Oh,
you had this gray jacket on? Yeah. And it had like a little ruffle to the edge of it. You were looking sharp. Still rocking the royal blue Nikes.
Yes, absolutely.
But you had that jacket on and I loved it. Okay, so we'll come back to that. So the Unknown Tour.
Let's stick with that for just a second.
Okay.
I love those Nikes. Those are my show Nikes. I just don't have anything that's blue that goes with it, right? Like, this, but nah. And that jacket is new to me. My friend Tracy Heron, who she does my hair and sometimes she drives me to shows. It was her jacket and she was letting me borrow it. And then she's like, oh no, girl, it's your birthday. I'm like, what? So she gave me that jacket and I love I was wearing a t-shirt underneath. So I had the Alive and Well comedy tour t-shirt that was from Brent Reed and Gordon Douglas and Dino O'Hara. did a show. It was a whole tour, and I was about to go on the tour with them. That's why I got the shirt. And then I got sick.
Let's be honest, you would have got the shirt anyway.
Well, I did get the shirt anyway. Like, that's what I'm saying.
But
like,
I'm saying
I was going to be on.
You said that's why I got the shirt. I was going to be on the tour. But even because, speaking of supportive and laugh support, Michele, you have so many t-shirts and so many books and so much merch from other comedians. And that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal that you support folks. You gave one of my t-shirts to Bob Smiley. You were telling him about one of my
I
t-shirts.
don't have one of your t-shirts yet.
Why don't you have one of my t-shirts? But you actually gave one of my t-shirts to another comedian, and he wore it on his podcast. And it just, Leslie Robb, our friend Leslie Robb, she wears my June Colson comedy t-shirt, the Oopsie Daisy hot pink. The color pink is great on her. She wears it all the time. And it's one thing when you see like somebody, a fan that came to the show and they buy your t-shirt, and to me, that's such an honor. That's such an honor. But when you have a fellow comedian that's rocking your t-shirt as well, man, that's huge. So even if you weren't going on Brent and Gordon and Dina's tour, I have a feeling you would have bought their t-shirt anyway. I'm saying.
Yeah. I bought it afterwards because it was one of those. I bought it. Brent sent it to me. I'm like, dude, I didn't make it. He's like, yeah, I know you didn't make it. You owe me. I'm like, I know. And then he sent me the shirt. So yeah, no, Brent has been one of my biggest supporters through this comedy journey. Like, seriously, since the first time I went to the CCA. He's always brought me on to the stage anytime he has an open stage. So like, he's done a lot of industrial stuff. What is that? That's not the word.
Industrial.
It's not industrial.
Like corporate shows?
Corporate. He's done a lot of
which could be industry. Industry. Yeah.
Yeah. So he does a lot of corporate shows. And so when he's in town and he's doing a corporate here, he's like, all right, come on. So because of that and my relationship with Brent, he's allowed me, I've been in front of brain surgeons. I've been in front of this one company that manufactures tools. And it's like a really, really high brand of tools. And so we did that because we did a comedy session with them. So it wasn't just doing comedy for them. We had, this is how you write a joke. This is, your punchline.
Wow.
And so we had a whole session. It was with their salespeople, their sales reps, and because they're, nationwide kind of a thing.
Oh, smart.
And so we had that kind of thing, how to think on your feet kind of a deal. And then after 2 hours of that, then they got up and did comedy. So it was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of work. It was at a great steak restaurant, like that, one of the back rooms. But the food, come on, somebody. So that was really good. So he's always had me in that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was so happy to have the Alive and Well t-shirt. Like it's. And I thought it looked good with that jacket. Back to the jacket.
Yes.
And back to my friend Tracy. So
you looked really good. You looked really good in that. So yeah. So okay. So let's talk about the Unknown tour.
Yeah.
So you have now been on one of their shows, and you have been to one of their shows. So let's talk about your experience being on the Unknown tour. Tell us about the tour. Tell us how you got on there, and tell us about your set.
Okay. So I wrote every day to Lauren a handwritten 8-page letter, demanding that I was on the show, proving that I was so funny. Oh, wait, no, that's stalker syndrome. No. So, so Lauren is part of the Christian Comedy Association. So I met her in June, face to face kind of a thing. And we've just developed a relationship, as we do when we meet comics.
Right.
Anyway, so she had a show here in Oklahoma. And because her tour is constantly just, Dory McLemore's on there. And then she has a speaker. So it's like 2.5 hours, and they have worship, they have comedy, they have encouragement. So they have it all together on a 2.5 hour night. And Dory can't do all of the dates. And so she had one that wasn't too far from my house, within a couple hours. And then she just reached out and, are you available? I'm like, yes. So she gave me 10 minutes on her stage, and she's never heard me perform. So she was taking a huge risk,
Yeah.
huge risk. And so I was really excited. And then, but because I wasn't really, I didn't know what to wear. You know how like that all goes through your head is like, what is this crowd? It was a church crowd, but anyway, I was just super excited. So Tracy did my hair and drove me there. So she and I, she's my girl. So we're out there, and everyone's so welcoming. Like Lauren is the best producer. She's friendly. She knows everything that's happening. She has a road person that, helps with the tour and stuff. She's amazing. Don't ask me her name because for whatever reason,
Oh, I know. I'm the worst. People mean everything to you and I both. We love people. We see people, but we forget people's names. We know who you are, but we forget your names. And I don't think that's uncommon with comedians. I think our brains are wired different anyway. So,
well, it's so frustrating to me because Jesus knows my name. God knows my name.
Right.
How can I not remember your name? And it's because
you're not Jesus and you're not God. Okay?
Right? Yeah. But I mean, you know what I mean?
Like it's like all of us. He should know our names. He literally created us. I didn't create that road manager. I just met you one time.
I keep calling her the wrong name. That's the problem. So it's this other name that's so I've got to figure out how to, get it to the right one. So anyway, so they're very welcoming. You just walk in, and they have their tour. They have, oh my gosh, their shirts. I should have worn that shirt. I have the Hope shirt, and they have like Choose Hope, and then they have like Faith Over Fear, which is really cool. Lauren has some good merch that she sells at her shows. And anyway, she's amazing. So I get there, and I didn't even get there when everyone else got there. Cause like I'm a diva. Because their sound check and things like that, it's way earlier because they have a lot of cues, they've got screens and stuff that they do. And I'm like, I just need a mic, just, check, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, good. But I didn't realize, I should have gone earlier, that, she has us all come back up on stage after a certain song. I'm like, oh, I know. What's the song? Like there's other things that I'm like, I blew it. I didn't show up, earlier. So that was not good on my part, but I'm a quick learner. Thank goodness for the speaker, Brittany. She's like, let's go up now. Oh, okay. Thank you. Like,
yes.
Thank God for Brittany.
But did you show up when you were supposed to show up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah. But everyone else was there earlier. And so now I'm like, okay, when I do the next show, cause I'm going to be on the show again in the spring.
What?
Yes. So in March. Yep, I'll be at the Piedmont, Oklahoma. So it's another
I'm gonna have to start writing letters. See if I can jump on this thing.
I did not write letters. That was a joke. That was a complete joke.
Okay. Well, I've already sent a balloonogram with a gorilla that did a dance, but it was in the middle of her show. So
she hates gorillas. So
I didn't realize she was allergic to gorilla fur. So
and balloons scare her. So
yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, when he started popping the balloons while she was doing her part with her puppets, I guess
that was
I blew it. I blew it.
Oh,
okay.
Actually, I don't like balloons. I'm just going to put that out there. That's why I was never a clown. Like my mom tried, because she had the clowning when I was growing up, and trying to shape balloons and they pop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too much.
So too much for me, for my little, I'm like, Anyway, this is way off. So go ahead. Ask me, what was the first question?
That's okay. Back on track. Okay. So you said, but you got there on time. You got there on time when you were told to be there, and someone else on the show was able to give you the cue that, okay, this is the time that we all go up here. So, so how was your set?
Oh my gosh. It was the best audience, and it went really well. I stayed to my time. Second, I did my set that I rehearsed and practiced. I did that set.
Yes.
Because I'm known not to do the set that I rehearse sometimes. Something happens in the audience and I got to go there. It's just, I do a lot of crowd work. So to just do a set with no crowd, but still anyway, it was so good. They were so receptive. People are ready to laugh.
Yeah.
And if you have something that's well crafted, they're there. They're ready.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
so where were you in the show? Like, as far as like how the order of the show, were you at the top of the show, in the middle of the show? Like, where were you at as far as what happened before you came on stage?
okay, got to be completely honest. I can't quite remember all of it. However, I do know um, that so they start off with worship, and then they have uh, for the show that I was on, because sometimes the shows are different. They're not always the same. So
Oh,
the show,
cool. Okay.
yeah, so the show that I was on, they had a comedy skit happening,
Mm.
that kind of introduced things and, unknown, and kind of describes the tour. And so it's very funny. Lauren is an amazing writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. And so her speaker, her friend Brittany, and her were doing this comedy skit, and so there's music, they're playing music, like it's
Hmm.
all this stuff in it,
Yeah.
and which was fantastic. And then some more worship and something else. And I know that they do have an intermission, and I do know that um Lauren speaks, and like I know that and Brittany
Yeah.
speaks, and I don't remember where I fit in there. I
So
really don't.
the comedy is, I guess what I'm discovering here is the comedy, like you weren't there to warm up the crowd. It wasn't
No.
just a little piece of the show. There's comedy throughout this entire show. And
Yes.
what's cool is by the time you went out, they had already seen some comedy. They're already and let's talk about
They're
really
already,
quick too,
yeah.
before the show, what happens.
Okay, so well, they're still going over cues and things like that, and then they also have a Q&A with the VIPs.
Right.
So
So they
if
met
you
you already, right?
yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
if they buy an early ticket, then you're there for the question and answer time, and so much fun. Like that's my favorite time, really. Because that to me is crowd work 101.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's also they get to ask questions. So like, how did you get started?
Yeah.
Where are you guys from? Like that's just the normal things that you'd ask.
Right. And
And
I don't
then
wanna
some
give away,
outdoor
like,
stuff.
don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I don't wanna give away too much of, like, what she's doing out there because I don't want somebody else to like, it's her show to share the formula up,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah,
But
and a lot of people do
right,
the VIP
exactly.
at the beginning. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and so in your set, you already got to meet the audience a little bit. They're seeing comedy throughout the show, and then you're another element of
Yeah.
the laughter and the humor. And I think that what's super cool is, this is all women. It's a women's event that
Mhm.
Lauren is doing, and they don't come with the arms crossed, going, "Okay, make me laugh." They're coming in ready. They're
Mhm.
excited. They know what they're going to. They have paid for that ticket and they
Yeah.
want to have a good time. So you had a
Yeah.
great experience with this
Oh my
audience.
gosh. And it wasn't just the audience, it was everything, because Lauren, her whole work ethic, and there wasn't anything that really fell through the cracks.
Yeah.
Like there was snacks in the green room, but it wasn't just snacks. You had your room temperature water, you had cold water, like everything was covered.
Yeah.
Um, and then during intermission, there was snacks for the audience, and I don't know if the church decided to do that or if that's something that Lauren does. That I'm not 100%
Right,
sure.
right.
Um, I think it's a church thing, but don't quote me on that.
Right, right.
Um, and see, part of me not actually remembering where I went in the set of stuff was because I know that I was still trying to make sure that I was gonna nail
Oh,
my
yeah,
set.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I do know that I came on after intermission.
Oh,
I think
cool.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I went on after intermission, but it was
Well, and
just one of those things. Yeah.
that's the reality of our brains too, is that like I I think comedians would get way too caught up. And that's one of the things we talked about, me being at the Gospel Comedy Association at their conference, was this whole conversation you and I had about it the other day was Tommy Davidson, a comedian. I believe someone was quoting him
Yeah.
as saying, you're on the same team. When you're doing a show, you're on the same team, whether you're
Yeah.
hosting it, you're opening it, your feature, or you're the headliner, that we can get caught up in the position and where we're at and what we're doing. And he said, it is like a basketball team in his brain. And when you go up, it's your free throw shot. Take your shot. It doesn't matter if it's in the beginning of the game, the middle of the game, the end of the game. You've prepped, you prepared, you're ready for this moment. Do your thing and don't worry about where you're at in the show, right? So I say that to say most people are like, oh, I want to be middle person. That's the sweet spot. The opener has the hardest job because the crowd is cold and you're trying to warm them up. And then, the headliner, he has this and he has that. Part of my brain is like, I want to go first. I want to get it over with. I want to have a great time. I want to do my thing because I want to sit back now and pay attention to everything else that's going on. But the stuff like you just said, that's just being brutally honest. That's how our brain is. You're there, but you cannot be 100% present because your mind is in this preparation mode of the job that you're about to do. And then when it's over, people is like, oh, I bet that's so much fun. And I'm like, oh, it's always so much fun when I'm done. When I'm done, I'm like, whoa, that was fun. And then I can relax. But beforehand, for me, it's like, oh, here we go. Did you feel a little extra pressure because it is a friend? I put that pressure on myself.
Yes.
If I'm performing for a stranger and they paid me and they don't know me and they, whatever, it's business. I'm professional. I'm doing this thing. But when I have a friend who has put their neck out for me, when I have a friend who is trusting me in a job, I put this extra pressure on myself of I don't want to disappoint them. I want to honor my friend. I want to do good by them. And sometimes that makes it more difficult. Speak on that.
It's definitely, it adds extra pressure on. And at the same time, it was like extra excitement. Because I know that like Lauren's tour is blowing up kind of a thing. And it wasn't one of those that, I want to be on there because I want to be seen. It wasn't that. It was, I want to be a part of that because that sounds so amazing what she's doing. And I was actually going to, I was already putting in my calendar, like dates that they're going to be in the area. I was going to go and just to watch because I wanted to see, I wanted to be a part, just of that kind of a thing. So when she asked if I would do 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay. And she's never seen me, but I know that I'm sure she probably got recommendations like from Rhonda or, other people that I have performed with. So yeah, but the whole just trying to stay in and trying to pay attention, like, do I need to do anything else? And then, okay, make sure I have this transition, it was like, it was the transitions I didn't want to mess up because there's been times, I'm pretty sure I've shared this before, but a few years back I had a surgery on my shoulder and then the medicine that I took messed my memory up like big time. So it's taken a couple of years to be able to remember things that I wrote. And now like I can remember things I wrote, but I don't always remember them in order. And so it's that like that messes with you, confidence wise when you're on stage. And then you think, well, they don't know my set, so it doesn't matter if it's actually in order or not. But if there's not some form of order, then it's like this girl has squirrel brain because it's like this conversation and this thing. It's all funny, but where are you going? It's like, because I've watched squirrels in my yard, digging for their nuts, and they're like, oh, it's not there. And then they go dig another spot because I know we've given some squirrel.
We have there's been some squirrel analogies. That's for sure.
Squirrel tips. So it's that kind of thing. So I really, really wanted to make sure I did a great job for Lauren because, it was her show. It was her thing. And I nailed it. I got to be honest. I nailed it. And so it was fantastic. It was so, okay. So one time, Shonda Pierce gave me an opportunity to be on her stage. And it was early on in doing comedy. And if you don't know who Shonda Pierce is, where have you been? And if you do know, then you know what I'm talking about. It's 2,500 women plus, she's done crowds of 10,000s. It just, and so she gave me 5 minutes on her stage. And that was higher anxiety than doing this 10 minutes for Lauren. Cause I've matured quite a bit in comedy. And, but for Lauren, I was just excited to be there and I'm overcoming this memory thing. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm still recovering from it because I'm pretty much have it handled, but then there's those moments I don't. And if something happens in the audience, I usually go to that. And I knew I couldn't do that on this stage. I had to just stay with what was prepared. Anyway, yeah, it was really good. It was extra
Yeah.
pressure because she's a friend. It was extra
Right.
pressure knowing that she was taking a risk. It was extra pressure knowing that because she's taking a risk, that's either going to bless me in the future or this is the end of that,
Yeah.
But no matter what, I knew I was still going to go and see their show. If I was
Right.
ever on that stage again, it didn't matter to me. I just wanted to be a part of this amazing thing, which will bring you into the next question, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you obviously did well enough for her to want you to come back in the spring. So that
Yes.
says it all. That says it
Woohoo!
all right there. So now you've been on the show and
Mhm.
then you've gone to see the show
Yes.
after you've been on the show.
Oh.
So what was that like to watch a show that you've been on and see it from the seats versus being on the stage?
Okay, so it's okay. So first off, it's called the Unknown Tour, right? So Google it and check the dates as to when it's going to be coming to your town. Because each show is slightly different with different speakers, different comedians, how they do it. It was fantastic. June, it was absolutely fantastic. I was so happy. And like you did at the last episode, talking about when you're driving through the mountains and, your GPS took you wherever. That's how mine took me. It's supposed to be, 2 hours between here and actually less than 2 hours to get to, they were performing in Rogers, Arkansas. Less than 2 hours. My GPS took me through the backwoods of Arkansas.
Oh gosh.
I was all over, I'm like, and
Oh, is that where you were videotaping? There was like a storm and I could see lightning going across the sky the whole ride back from this. Yes, I remember seeing that
yes.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
you sent me a
they're-
Marco and I could see like you're just heading straight into a twister and you're like, it's
yeah.
okay. I had so much fun.
Yes, that was the
Oh
thing.
wait, no, this is Michelle driving. It's okay. I had so much fun. Like she could the angle of her phone in her vehicle is exactly how I imagine her driving anyway. And I'm like, don't lie, Michelle. You have a booster seat. You gotta be set. If you don't, you need to get a booster seat because it is not safe for anyone on the road. If the steering wheel, if your arms are above your forehead when you're driving, then you're too little to be in that car. Get a steer. I look like I'm getting milk from a cow. I don't know what that move is. I don't know what that driving move is, but that's what I did. So
that's kind of what it was. Well,
yeah.
because driving my husband's car, he doesn't have a spot for your phone. And so I just stuck it on the dash, not in the dash, but by the whatever the thing is in front of you, when it lights up,
Yes.
it tells you how fast you're going and that kind of thing. I just stuck it there. And it's because I have a flip phone, it could just sit there. So the angle of the flip phone, come on, it angled down at me. And I told you, I said, okay, I'm sure it looks like I'm really short right now, but I can see over the dash. I'm doing fine.
It did very much look like you were little
It did.
bitty. You were little bitty.
Yeah.
But so you had a great time. You got to watch it. You got
Yes.
to relax. You got to enjoy. Do you watch the audience? That's what I do. When my friends are performing, a lot of times I'll be watching them, but I love just looking over and getting to see like what we don't get to see when we're on stage. You know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
pan across the whole room and see the individual faces all, like focus on them. And I like to look at the audience too and see how much they're enjoying the show.
There were people from all over. It was not just people from Arkansas. People
Mm.
came from Missouri. People came, I think, from Kansas,
Wow.
Oklahoma, because, we're just over the border kind of a thing. And then there was another one I thought that was a little bit farther, but I can't remember because I talked to the audience in between stuff because, okay, first off, when I got there and the tour manager was talking to the, to the volunteers there, I just kind of said, I'm just going to sneak in the back. She said, oh yeah, because she's all excited that I was there. And so I go into the green room and I saw Dory because Dory was performing and Lauren was performing. And then Rachel Jackson was going to be doing the music. And then I met the speaker that night. It was not Brittany. It was a different speaker. She was so good.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. Like dropped some great pearls of wisdom. So to me, it just shows that wherever Lauren is going and the people that she's pulling, they're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But going back in it just felt like, when you walk into a room and then like the atmosphere lifts kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's how it felt when I went in there. They're like, ah, like they were so excited that I was there.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, and Dory killed it. It was
Always.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
And then Lauren, oh my gosh. And then to hear part of her story, like all of it, it's just it's so good. It's so well done, so good. But then the tour manager came back and she's like, "You confused me for a minute." I'm like, "What?" She's like, for a minute I thought, "Wait, no, she's not the comedian tonight."
Yeah, you happened to be there and she thought you were on the show.
Yeah. But to the audience question. So I'm there. So this is before the show and stuff. So I'm just chatting with the audience, just different people. And I was trying to encourage them, like, oh yeah, you totally need to get Dory's book. Oh my gosh, that is such a great book. Like just because the merchandise there, I don't know if people know, but sometimes that's where we make our money is the book table.
Yeah.
Which allows us to continue to travel and to go to places that, these, because she's doing, these are like smaller to medium-sized churches right now. She could be filling huge churches.
And she is stepping up and probably will be
and she
very
will
near future.
But right now,
but every audience and every size, it all matters. It all matters to her in this tour. It all matters to her. And I just think that's so cool. And, there's a difference. I heard somebody say recently, and it's really stuck with me. There's a difference to being invited somewhere and being welcome.
Yes.
People will invite you places or, oh yeah, you should stop by or, oh, but when you get somewhere that you've been invited, whether you've been invited or you are welcome there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like when you popped in to see our friends, you weren't just invited to come on back to the green room. You were welcome in their presence. And that's a big difference. And Lauren's connection she's making with people allow her to pull and get amazing people from all over the country. And that doesn't happen if you're not an approachable person who sees people and makes them feel welcome. So we have to welcome her on our show.
Yes.
In the near future. I wanted to talk about it because before we got too far away from the event, because really it is that, I've slept since then mentality is life goes on. And we lose a little bit of the details. And so I didn't want to go, oh, well, next season we'll interview Lauren. And it's been it's been months since you did the show. So I definitely wanted to talk about that, bring it up. We will have Lauren Lucille on here. If we have to continue to the letter campaign, stalk her and send
something, send chocolate, send fruit.
To get our attention. Before we close out on this one, I want to talk. You just did a show with our friend Nicole Miller and Gary Thompson. So let's talk. Let's recap that show really quick before we close out because you just look like you had a great time and they were super fun. And you've done several shows with Nicole. So tell us about that event.
Well, Nicole Miller, she is a very funny comedian, and she used to run an improv troupe called Crayons.
Oh, okay.
So like her.
Wait, I'm sorry. Called what?
Crayons. Like coloring.
Can you spell that?
That THAT crayons CRAYONS. How do you spell crayons?
That's crayons.
Crayons.
That's crayons. Crayons
Whatever.
Would be
Crayons.
CRAUNS. Crayons. Ewans.
Back to Ella Spella. Crayons. I don't know.
Crayons.
Whatever. Crayons.
I'm the southern one, and you said crayons. Okay.
Crayons,
so she used to run crayons.
Yeah.
And then what?
So I didn't realize this, but back when I was doing, when I first started, that she and I, our paths would pass all the time. I'm like, because I would either, we would perform like in the same locations here in the Colson area, which was so cool. But I had no idea that it was Nicole. It was that kind of thing. Plus, she's an actress, so she's got a couple movies coming out in Pure Flix next year sometime.
Oh, cool.
Which is really, very, very cool. And listening to her set this weekend because she was headlining it, and then she was having Gary, and then she sent me a message like, "Hey, can you be our host?" I'm like, "Absolutely." I was so excited
Yeah, fun.
because I needed some stage time this month prior to the in October, because this is going to be in November. So I needed some stage time prior to doing the Jeff Allen opening for Jeff
Mhm.
Allen. So hosting, I'm like, yes, I will totally host for you, Nicole. Absolutely. Plus, I love working with her. She's so amazing. And so it was so much fun. We went to this church out in Coweta, even though it said Broken Arrow, but it's actually Coweta. And so we're talking small church, way southeast. Just drive and then just keep driving. You'll get there. Uh, you'll pass Bluebell Creamery, which is an ice
Ooh.
cream thing. Yeah, yeah. And the
No,
whole
I
point,
wouldn't. I
yeah,
wouldn't pass.
that's
I
right.
would
You have
stop. I
to.
wouldn't
You
pass. I would
you
stop.
yeah, you got to pass it because they do tours, and in the tours, you can get a little sample. I'm just saying, and they have a
Mhm.
little,
Mhm.
yeah. You got to pass that, and it's past the Zebco, so you got to fishing, and it's all good. So it's just way south. Anyway, it's a tiny little church. They just finished remodeling. This was the first event that they were having in this
Oh,
new
cool.
facility. It is amazing. They painted the ceilings black. Uh, so this is the perfect church. If you want to shoot a special, this would be the
Mm.
place to do it.
The stage looked
Absolutely.
really nice. In the pictures, it looked like their stage area. This church has done a really good job on
Yes.
on,
And
the remodel of their stage there.
it's only like 2 steps up, which was
Yeah.
fabulous. Because okay,
Yes.
gotta say, the stage at Guthrie, for the Unknown Tour, that was like 7 or 8 steps up,
Oh,
and,
that's tough.
since
Yeah.
since I've got this little hip
Yes.
thingy,
Yeah.
that was a struggle going up, then
Yeah.
down, then
No
up, and
criticism to the
I was like,
stage,
"Oof."
but when you do have a hip issue or leg or back or whatever, steps are like,
Mm.
"Dun, dun, dun."
Oh
Gotta
my
get up
gosh.
the steps.
Yes, yeah, so I was like, I'm like, "Whew, okay, 2 stairs, I can
Yes.
do this." So I was really excited, and it has a little rounded out thing, so it projects just a little bit. So it was the perfect stage, great sound system, wonderful pastor and his wife.
Mm.
And that was funny. Okay, so the pastor's wife's name is Sheila, and one of Gary Thompson's jokes, he talks about a woman named Sheila not knowing that the pastor,
Oh,
so that was like, so when Nicole came up, she's like, just gonna explain for just a minute, before she got into her stuff, that he didn't know her name was
that her name
Sheila.
was Sheila.
Yeah, because he just picked a random name,
Probably, yeah.
uh,
Probably that's probably a lesson for Gary that later on he's like, "I should probably make sure that there's not like the pastor's wife is not the name of a funny character in one of
yeah,
my
yeah,
bits." Yeah, if you're
yeah.
making fun of a yeah.
It was hilarious. And Gary, he's a DJ for KXOJ, which is a local station here. He's been a
Oh, yeah.
DJ for years, and his comedy is quick, and it's clever, and it's funny. I mean, it's just boom, boom.
Yeah, yeah.
He had all the things in, and so it was really, really fun to watch him do. I think he did like 30 minutes, and it was so much fun watching him because the last time I saw him, doing open mics and things, you get 5 minutes, 10
Right,
minutes,
right. You didn't get to
So
see all they can do.
yeah, so it was so much fun to be able to watch him, and then to watch Nicole do a 40-minute set, and because
Mm,
this was her special, and
yeah.
so I loved being there and being able to host it, and being able to get people to, okay, we're here to support Nicole. Make sure, we got to get our laughter up to here. Like,
Yeah.
like I got to hit all those kind of things. And so
Yeah.
it was right up my alley because I enjoyed talking to the audience and
Mhm.
do a little bit of comedy, but then
Yeah.
getting them up where they needed to be. Here's the funniest one. Okay. So on the right hand side of the audience, there was a woman, and her husband and a friend. And so the woman, they weren't laughing very loud. It was kind of like, like really
Yeah.
quiet. And I'm like, and I was like, okay, first off, I want to tell everybody, you never, ever do this. Are you pregnant? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, that's why your laughter is more like Lamaze right now. You know, like that's where her laughter went.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. You never really ask a woman, oh, are
Right,
you
right,
fat?
right. That is
Oh, are
just
you
funny,
pregnant?
period. That's just
Yeah.
funny, period. Like, you need to write a punchline for that, though, for someone who's not pregnant, where you go, okay, look, you never ask a woman this, but are you pregnant?
Yeah.
That's just funny, period. Because,
Yeah.
especially if it's somebody who's obviously not.
Yeah. No,
You got to have a good punchline for that. We'll work on that later.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
Anyway,
ahead.
so that was one of the best audience things because she was pregnant and I just went with, oh, Lamaze laughing, and then
Yes.
went with how quiet. So we got the audience up and this one couple sitting in the front. I'm like, there's no one behind you. Are you going to carry your section? You got to be the loud laughers. They're like, oh yeah, we could do it. I'm like, ah. And I'm like, you guys, what's happening here? You're dropping the ball, and they're like, oh, so it was so fun to just work with them and get them to a place
Yes.
to be able to receive Nicole.
Yeah.
Here's something though. I am the worst person at doing intros if you don't tell me your intro.
Oh, yeah.
Have it written down for me. Let
Yeah.
me read it. And here's the second thing. And if you tell me your intro, but it's not written down, I am the worst person at
Yeah.
intros.
Don't
The
do that
worst.
to the
Yeah,
host.
don't do
Don't
it.
do that.
So, yeah, all I knew for Nicole, I was supposed to, say these couple of things and then introduce, and then I'm like, okay, wait, let's start over again. Let me try this intro one more time because I wanted to make sure it was a good intro. And
Yes. Yeah.
and then Gary's intro was horrible. Because it was a family event and I'm like, knock, knock. And the audience is like, who's there? Because I was trying to get the kids involved. And
Yeah.
I'm like, radio. And they're like, radio who? I'm like, radio not for our next comedian, but he's been on the radio.
Oh.
And it should have been really
Okay.
funny and like right there,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
not.
Just turned
And
out
so
cheesy.
it was completely cheesy, but it didn't matter.
Oh, well.
He was so good.
Yes, yeah. No, I really like Rick Roberts tells a story about doing that to another comedian, and he always says Rick is he teaches the School of Laughs and is a comedian out of Nashville. He's really fantastic. But he told us a story one time about not giving the host a intro. And then when he went out on stage, he got started and the audience was not receiving him and they were being very off put and very tender and just like, I'm not, and he finally had to go, okay, what happened? And the guy gave an introduction about like Rick having a disease and that he was dying and all of this stuff because Rick didn't tell him what to say. So the comedian was like, okay, fine. Don't tell me what to say. I'll just make something up. And the guy went up and was like, so this next comedian is dying of, whatever. And yeah. And so when Rick gets up and, of course I'm botching the story, but that's the gist of it. So I'm like, dude, I will always, but when I produce a show though, that's what I tell the comedians. I'm like, either email me what you want said to you, or you come with a note card that has your introduction on it. I'm happy to print it for you. I'm happy to hand write it for you if I have it. But I want whoever's hosting the show to not be told, because I get that. Friends of mine will be like, me, say what you want to say. Okay, that's fine. I'll do that. But I always bring note cards with me so that I could write down what I want to say so I don't get up there and fumble through an introduction or whatever for them. But sometimes it's like, well, no, I really don't know you that well. I know you're my friend and I know where you live, but I don't, I'm sure there's some things that would make my job easier if I could just say she's Tulsa's funniest, clean comedian, or she's this or that, whatever. So yeah, I'll always give somebody an introduction. Otherwise, you get a cheesy knock knock joke and you deserve it. No, just kidding. I don't know Gary. I don't know him at all.
Hey,
but it sounds like
it was fantastic.
It was a super fun show. It was a super fun show at a cool location. And it gets you prepared. So the next episode will probably have a guest, but our following episode will be able to come back and recap what's happening this weekend. Michele, what are you doing this weekend?
Okay, so this weekend I have an opportunity. If you all remember the March episode that we had Jeff Allen on, and he said, yeah, just remind me next time I'm in Oklahoma, Michele, you could open for me. Well, guess what, people? It's happening the end of October, the 29th and the 30th. So
not once, but
twice. Yep. 2 days in a row. or 2 nights in a row. And so that's what's happening. And that's why I realized I better practice his intro way more
Yes.
than knock knock. Are you ready for Jeff?
Now, Jeff is one, when I opened for him here in Bowling Green, Jeff is one that he's like, just, whatever, just talk about us being friends, say what you want to say. And which is basically what I did. And he's not one that's hard for me to come up with a lot of wonderful things to say about. So he is one that, that I was able to just say, this is my mentor, my friend, and, whatever, and introduce him. And I'm telling you, you're going to have a great time. He is such a rock star and a pro and a wonderful person. And I know that you are going to do great. And here in a few episodes, we will come back and we will talk about your experience opening, because you got to be so competitive. I finally get to open for Jeff, and then you're like, really? I'm going to do it 2 times, June. 2 times. So I'm so excited. I am twice as excited for you. Yes, I'm twice as excited for you. And I know you're going to be amazing. So I can't wait. Can't wait for that to happen. And hey, my friend Michele VanDusen, y'all check out her comedy. Okay. Michele VanDusen. She's Michelle's Comedy. It's Michele with 1 L. Michelle's Comedy.com. MICHELES comedy.com. Yes, that's it right there. I'm not Ella the Speller, but we will have her on one day too. All right. So Michelle's comedy.com, and you can find me at
Check out June.
comedy.com, JuneColsonComedy.com. And listen, we love if you're listening to the Laugh Support Podcast, because you can always hear us on all the major podcast platforms like Amazon, Apple, Spotify. And that if you would like to see us, you can find us on the Creative Motion Network, on Roku TV, on Vimeo, and on our YouTube channel. And do us a favor, go to our YouTube channel, like it, subscribe to it, so that you don't miss any of the, and share, so that you don't miss any of the episodes of the Laugh Support Podcast. Well, folks, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Oh, wait. Michelle.
I was just going to say, that's Michelle. Right. I got one more thing. I also found out, like, if we want to get our YouTube channel to have just our name on it, the Laugh Support Podcast, we have to have like so many listeners and all that kind of stuff. So that's why, or so many subscribers. And so come on, people, subscribe.
Yes.
Share. Yes.
Yeah.
Like that.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
And if you know anybody in Antarctica, tell them to listen. Tell those scientists down there to tune in one time, because I want to make sure we get all 7 continents.
That would be super cool.
Yes. Yeah. Super cool.
I'm only on 1 physically, but our podcast is on 6 continents. That's pretty stinking awesome. That's pretty awesome.
It is. Yep.
Okay, y'all. That's it for this episode. As always, Jesus and Junebug loves you. Michelle, she's doing the Danielson wax on, wax off. I'm not sure. Give him a karate chop. Goodbye.
You say these things, and I'm like, how is it to end now?
Just give it a hiya.
Hiya later. No, that's not. See you later. Bye.
Nope.